Okay, today's topic is going to be taking it to the next level. So, we have the majority of our athletes that come here are looking to continue their student athlete development in college, which is a huge goal and a big task, and something that's very difficult for just an athlete by themselves to be able to obtain. Luckily, with the internet today, there is a ton of good information out there to help assist the student athlete. Unfortunately, there's also a ton of bad information out there or misinformation out there. And the other part that makes it confusing is I think everybody working with the athletes for the most part means well, but they don't always know what they don't know. Whether you call that ignorance, it doesn't really matter. It's just misinformation is misinformation. So if you're an athletic director but you're not used to having Division 1 or Division 2 or NAIA athletes coming through your doors, then you're probably not really aware and present with what that process looks like. If you're a high school coach and the same situation, or if you're a parent and you only have one kid, and obviously you're probably new to this situation, or if you have multiple kids and they haven't gone through that process, so they're not a Division 1, Division 2 NAIA athlete, or even Division 3. Division 3, it's a little bit easier because the coaches can talk with you pretty much almost immediately. So it gets easier because there's less money involved, and also there's less constraints involved. So that's less complicating. But the biggest challenge is the fact that a lot of the misinformation comes from trusted sources. And I'm not here to bash anybody, I'm just here to educate. So the bottom line is, I don't care if our athletes play one sport, two sports, three sports, four, five, six, whatever, you name it. But the science is the science, so you can't argue with that. The problem is most people misquote the science all the time. So we'll get into that later. But the biggest thing that we're talking about 2 minutes into this already is we're discussing how to get to the next level. And really the most important thing that you need to understand is, and this is a great quote, I believe Eric Thomas said it, he talks about taking advantage of the opportunity of a lifetime in the lifetime of the opportunity. And so if you just think about that for a second, that's really what restricts a lot of these student athletes, their parents, their coaches, the athletic departments, travel coaches, school coaches, is they don't understand the process. And the NCAA unfortunately does their best, but things change all the time. So regulations, restrictions, guidelines change consistently. So you have to keep abreast of the information. And so if you're not working with a recruiting agency like a CSA Prep Star or a NCSA or a Go Big or Be Recruited or any one of those, and utilizing the information that they give you, then most people aren't getting on the NCAA website and understanding what they're actually looking at. So that's kind of step one before we even get into anything else. And I'm going to probably break this up into 3 to 5 videos so that you can watch them in sections and not get overwhelmed. But the first step is really get clear on what the guidelines are. So I would say at this point, stop the video or finish this video and then go back and get real clear, because the guidelines are different for different sports and they're different for different levels of competition. So, and before that, maybe you want to sit down with your athlete, or if you are the athlete, or if you're the athletic director or a different administrator or a coach, you need to get clear on what your athletes have for goals before their season starts. And we start in middle school talking with kids about this so that they don't get caught off guard later on and then say, oh, well, I didn't know that. And you can't just give them the information. They have to put sweat equity into it so that they're invested. If all information is free, which it is mostly these days, then the only thing that you have to spend to actually get that information is to spend your time and energy to go get it. But if you give them information and they don't write it down, they don't take notes, they've done nothing to put that into their system like we talked about the other day. So they're probably not going to remember it. They're probably also not going to value it as much as they would if they did something. So find out what your guidelines are for where you're trying to go.